Do you ever feel like life's challenges get the better of you, leaving you frustrated, stuck, or overwhelmed? Mental strength isn't just something you're born with. It's built through daily actions and habits. But just as good habits can make you mentally resilient, bad habits can quietly sap your strength, leaving you vulnerable when life gets tough. In this article, we'll uncover 10 common habits that may be holding you back, eroding your confidence, and keeping you from reaching your full potential. You might be surprised at how subtle these behaviors can be, and how powerful your mindset can become once you start letting them go. Let's dive in. Number 1. Dwelling on things outside your control. We all have moments when our minds become fixated on things beyond our influence, whether it's a distant global event, someone else's behavior, or the unpredictable twists of life. This tendency to dwell on things outside our control is part of the human experience, but it can cause unnecessary stress, anxiety, and frustration. So why do we do this, and how can we break free from this cycle? At its core, dwelling on things we cannot change is a natural response to uncertainty. Our brains are wired to solve problems, to seek control, and to make sense of the world around us. When we face something out of our control, whether it's a health scare, a financial crisis, or a personal conflict, it can trigger feelings of helplessness. This leads to rumination, which is the mental loop of overthinking and revisiting situations over and over again. The issue with rumination is that it doesn't lead to solutions. Instead, it magnifies stress and anxiety. Psychologist Susan Nolan Hoeksema explains that dwelling on the uncontrollable amplifies negative emotions, which then cloud judgment and create a cycle of anxiety. As humans, we seek control. It's built into our survival instincts. In the past, taking control of situations, like preparing for a harsh winter or tracking food sources, was vital. But in today's modern world, much of what we worry about is beyond our immediate control, and we can feel overwhelmed by it. The modern environment often pushes us to focus on external forces, whether through news media, social media, or conversations about global issues. This constant bombardment can lead to the illusion that we should be able to control these events, or at least influence the outcome. But much of the world operates on forces that we cannot change. It's easy to get caught in the trap of what-ifs and hypothetical scenarios. Our minds, constantly seeking patterns, sometimes fixate on the unknowns. This can lead us to ask, what if something terrible happens? Or, what if this situation gets worse? The human mind struggles to rest without closure, and because we can't predict the future or control other people's actions, our thoughts become consumed with uncertainty. Additionally, social comparison plays a role. With social media's highlight reels, we often measure ourselves against others' successes and failures, even when these comparisons are irrelevant to our own lives. This amplifies our worries about things beyond our control, leading to feelings of inadequacy or fear. When you focus on things outside your control, it chips away at your well-being in several ways. The longer you focus on things you can't change, the more stress you accumulate. Your mind gets stuck in a loop, amplifying your anxiety levels. Paradoxically, the more you worry about the uncontrollable, the less energy you have to take action in areas you can control. It's like trying to steer a ship without realizing that the wheel is locked in place. Constantly revisiting things beyond your control drains your emotional resources. This can lead to burnout, sadness, and a general sense of powerlessness. If your worry leads you to become consumed with others' actions or decisions, you may unintentionally push away the people who matter most, leading to isolation. Fortunately, there are practical strategies to help you break free from this cycle of dwelling on things you can't control. First, it's important to shift focus to what you can control. It's easy to feel powerless when you focus on external events, but there is always something you can control: your actions, your reactions, your attitude. Focus on improving areas of your life that are within your grasp, such as your health, your relationships, or your personal growth. Practicing mindfulness helps you become aware of your thoughts without letting them dominate your mind. Meditation, deep breathing, or simply being present at the moment can calm your mind and help you stop obsessing over the uncontrollable. Instead of asking, "What if this happens?" try thinking, "I can only control what I do in response to this situation." Reframing your thoughts empowers you to focus on solutions rather than problems. While it's important to stay informed, constant news consumption or social media scrolling can heighten feelings of helplessness. Set boundaries for your media consumption to protect your mental space. Recognize that it's okay to feel overwhelmed, but also understand that you don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. Be kind to yourself, and remind yourself that it's normal to not have control over everything. Sometimes just talking about your worries with someone you trust can help you gain perspective. Verbalizing your thoughts can also help you process them and prevent rumination from spiraling out of control. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means recognizing when something is out of your hands and choosing to focus on what you can change. It's about reclaiming your peace and making peace with uncertainty. A helpful metaphor is the image of a balloon. If you keep holding on to the balloon, it's a constant burden, tugging and pulling at you. But if you let go, the balloon floats away and you regain your freedom. Changing your perspective on things beyond your control is one of the most liberating steps you can take. Consider this. Many things that we fret about today are, in retrospect, small or insignificant in the grand scheme of life. The things that truly matter, our well-being, relationships, passions, are often within our power to nurture and protect. By adopting an attitude of acceptance, we open ourselves to peace and contentment. Life is uncertain, and there will always be things outside our control. But that's where the beauty of flexibility and adaptability lies. Dwelling on things outside your control is a common human tendency, but it doesn't have to dominate your life. By shifting focus, practicing mindfulness, reframing your thoughts, and letting go of the need for control, you can regain a sense of balance and peace. Life is unpredictable, and while we can't always control what happens around us, we can choose how we respond and what we focus on. By taking this control back, we stop being at the mercy of external forces and reclaim our inner strength. So the next time your mind drifts to what's beyond your control, remember, you are not helpless. There is always something you can do to change your mindset, shift your energy, and create a more peaceful, empowered life. Number 2, avoiding discomfort. Discomfort is an inevitable part of life, something we all encounter in various forms, whether physical, emotional, or mental. It arises when we face situations or experiences that are challenging or unpleasant, signaling that something is out of balance. Often, our instinct is to avoid it, driven by a deep-seated desire for safety, stability, and comfort. Yet in avoiding discomfort, we may inadvertently miss opportunities for growth, transformation, and self-discovery. At its core, discomfort serves a purpose. It's an alert system designed to help us survive. However, not all discomfort requires immediate action or escape. Instead, it can be seen as an invitation to learn and grow. Our tendency to shy away from discomfort often stems from fear of the unknown, the lure of instant gratification, or painful past experiences that we are eager to avoid repeating. These responses, while natural, can sometimes trap us in patterns that limit our potential and keep us confined to what feels safe. Discomfort manifests in many forms. It can be physical, like the ache of sore muscles after exercise, or emotional, such as feelings of sadness, frustration, or anxiety. It may also emerge as mental tension, brought on by overthinking or uncertainty, or as social unease in situations where we fear judgment or rejection. While these experiences can be unpleasant, they are often signs of growth and change. Discomfort challenges us to step outside of our comfort zones and adapt to new realities, fostering resilience and strength. Instead of viewing discomfort as a problem to solve or a threat to avoid, it can be helpful to reframe it as an opportunity. Facing challenges head-on allows us to learn, adapt, and push past limiting beliefs that hold us back. Each time we confront discomfort, we build emotional intelligence and develop a greater capacity to cope with life's ups and downs. By allowing ourselves to feel and process discomfort, we become more attuned to our emotions and better equipped to handle future challenges. Managing discomfort begins with self-awareness. Mindfulness helps us observe our feelings without judgment, giving us the clarity to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Embracing discomfort doesn't mean ignoring our limits, though. It's about finding a balance, recognizing when discomfort is a sign of growth versus when it's unnecessary or harmful. Simple practices like reframing challenges, breaking tasks into smaller steps, and seeking support from friends or professionals can make discomfort more manageable. At times, discomfort may be unavoidable. In these moments, acceptance can be a powerful tool. By acknowledging discomfort as a natural part of life, we can reduce the emotional resistance that often amplifies it. Instead of fearing discomfort, we can approach it with curiosity and openness, knowing it's a temporary state that holds the potential for transformation. Life's richness often lies in its challenges. Discomfort, while unwelcome at first glance, is not an adversary but a guide, leading us toward growth and self-awareness. By learning to navigate discomfort, we gain confidence in our ability to handle life's complexities. In embracing discomfort, we discover new depths within ourselves and unlock possibilities that were once hidden behind the walls of our comfort zones. Number 3. Overreacting to criticism. Criticism is an inevitable part of life, encountered in professional settings, personal relationships, or even casual interactions. The way we respond to it can significantly shape our emotional well-being, relationships, and opportunities for growth. Yet overreacting to criticism is a common response that often causes unnecessary stress, hampers development, and damages connections with others. Understanding why we overreact and how to approach criticism more constructively can transform these moments into opportunities for self-improvement. One of the primary reasons for overreacting is the emotional sting that criticism carries. It can feel like an attack on our competence, intelligence, or even our worth as individuals. Often, feedback triggers deeply rooted insecurities, making it challenging to separate the critique from our sense of identity. The mind can magnify the critique, twisting it into distorted beliefs like, "I'm a failure," or "I'll never be good enough." For some, past experiences with harsh criticism or unresolved wounds amplify this sensitivity, making every piece of feedback seem more personal than it is. Even when the critique is delivered constructively, our instinct to protect our ego can override rational processing, leading to defensiveness, frustration, or withdrawal. Overreacting to criticism can manifest in various ways, from immediate defensiveness and emotional outbursts to ruminating obsessively over the feedback or avoiding such conversations altogether. While these reactions may temporarily shield us from discomfort, they carry significant consequences. Relationships can suffer, as others may hesitate to provide honest input in the future, fearing an adverse reaction. The opportunity to learn and grow from the critique is often missed, and the accompanying emotional turmoil can further erode confidence and self-esteem. In professional settings, repeatedly responding poorly to feedback can stagnate career growth and hinder progress toward goals. The good news is that how we handle criticism can be reshaped with mindful effort. One of the most effective strategies is pausing before reacting. This brief moment allows emotions to settle and create space for reflection. Criticism isn't always meant to harm, and separating the intent of the critique from its emotional impact is vital. Seeking clarification when feedback feels unclear or overly harsh demonstrates a willingness to grow and helps uncover actionable insights. It's equally important to practice self-compassion. Everyone has areas where they can improve, and acknowledging imperfections doesn't diminish one's value. Feedback, even when poorly delivered, often contains a kernel of truth that can lead to significant personal or professional development if embraced with an open mind. Shifting focus to the substance of the message rather than its delivery makes it easier to extract the value in even the most uncomfortable critiques. Fostering a habit of responding rather than reacting to criticism is transformative. A simple acknowledgement like, "Thank you for sharing your perspective," can diffuse tension and open the door to constructive dialogue. Proactively seeking feedback also normalizes the experience, reducing the emotional charge associated with receiving it. By reframing criticism as an opportunity to grow rather than a judgment of worth, it becomes easier to embrace these moments and turn them into stepping stones toward improvement. Ultimately, overreacting to criticism is a natural but counterproductive response. With practice, it's possible to manage emotional triggers, approach feedback with curiosity, and cultivate a mindset that welcomes growth. When criticism is viewed as an ally rather than an adversary, it has the power to strengthen relationships, enhance self-awareness, and propel us toward our full potential. Number 4, blaming others. Blaming others is a behavior that often arises when things go wrong. While it might offer temporary relief, it usually creates deeper problems instead of resolving the situation. This habit can be observed in personal relationships, professional settings, and even at a societal level, leading to negativity, damaged relationships, and missed opportunities for growth. One reason people blame others is that it acts as a defense mechanism. When faced with guilt, shame, or failure, Shifting the responsibility to someone else feels safer than confronting one's own mistakes. It can also stem from a fear of accountability, as admitting fault might invite criticism or judgment. Social conditioning plays a role as well. Many grow up in environments where blame is normalized, teaching them to deflect responsibility instead of owning up to errors. Ego preservation is another factor. Acknowledging a mistake can feel like an attack on self-worth, so people deflect to maintain their image. The consequences of blaming others are far-reaching. Trust erodes quickly when blame becomes habitual. In any relationship or team, the unfair targeting of others fosters resentment and defensiveness. It also stifles growth because self-reflection is sidelined. When mistakes aren't acknowledged, valuable learning opportunities are lost. In workplaces, a culture of blame can lead to toxicity, where people focus more on avoiding fault than solving problems. This not only reduces productivity but also damages morale. In personal relationships, the strain of constant blame weakens emotional bonds, creating a cycle of conflict and disconnection. Overcoming the tendency to blame requires effort and self-awareness. The first step is recognizing when you're about to deflect responsibility and pausing to reflect on your own role in the situation. Shifting to a growth mindset helps, as it encourages viewing mistakes as opportunities to improve rather than failures to be hidden. Empathy can also be transformative. Understanding someone else's perspective can soften the urge to assign blame and foster mutual respect. Instead of focusing on fault, prioritizing solutions leads to collaboration and progress. Setting boundaries and communicating expectations can address shared responsibilities constructively. Most importantly, modeling accountability in your actions inspires others to do the same, creating a ripple effect of positive change. Stories of transformation highlight how moving away from blame can reshape dynamics. For instance, a team in a tech company once plagued by finger-pointing began to thrive when a new manager implemented reviews that analyzed mistakes without assigning fault. This shift improved trust, morale, and innovation. Similarly, a couple on the brink of separation found that taking responsibility for their own actions and communicating openly led to a healthier, more understanding relationship. As the saying goes, when you blame others, you give up your power to change. The next time you feel the urge to blame someone, pause and consider how taking ownership can transform the situation. Blame may seem instinctive, but embracing accountability fosters growth, strengthens connections, and paves the way for positive change. The choice to let go of blame is ultimately a choice to take control of your own growth and happiness. Number 5. Chasing pleasure and avoiding pain. The instinct to chase pleasure and avoid pain lies at the heart of human behavior. This fundamental drive is deeply rooted in our biology, shaping our decisions and habits in ways that often go unnoticed. At its core, this principle reflects our evolutionary programming. Our ancestors relied on pleasure as a signal to pursue activities essential for survival, like eating and reproducing, while pain served as a warning to steer clear of danger. Over time, this system has allowed humanity to thrive. But in the complexity of modern life, it has also created new challenges. Pleasure, tied to the release of neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, motivates us to seek rewarding experiences. Yet, the pursuit of pleasure often becomes a double-edged sword. The more we indulge, the less satisfying those experiences can become, a phenomenon known as hedonic adaptation. What once brought joy may lose its appeal, driving us to chase greater and more frequent rewards. At the same time, pain, which once protected us, now has the power to paralyze us. Avoiding discomfort might feel safe in the moment, but it can lead to stagnation, procrastination, and unfulfilled potential. Philosophers and psychologists have long grappled with this principle. Hedonists championed the idea of maximizing pleasure, viewing it as the ultimate good. In contrast, Stoics urged people to embrace pain and discomfort as opportunities for growth, warning against becoming enslaved by fleeting desires. Freud identified this tension in his psychoanalytic theory, where the ID seeks immediate gratification, while the ego and superego temper these impulses by considering long-term consequences. More recently, behavioral psychology has explored how rewards and punishments shape our actions, showing that the pleasure-pain principle operates not just on a psychological level, but also in the very fabric of our learning and habits. The paradox of chasing pleasure and avoiding pain is that it often leads us astray. Short-term pleasures can result in long-term pain, such as indulging in unhealthy foods or addictive behaviors. Conversely, enduring temporary pain, like the discomfort of exercise or the effort required to master a skill, often yields lasting rewards. This balance is not easy to strike. Avoiding pain entirely can trap us in our comfort zones, where we miss out on growth and meaningful experiences. Emotional avoidance, for example, might shield us from vulnerability in the short term, but can lead to deeper challenges like anxiety or unresolved trauma. Life becomes richer when we embrace both pleasure and pain, understanding that they are intertwined. Mindfulness can help us savor moments of joy without clinging to them and face pain without becoming overwhelmed. Developing the capacity for delayed gratification allows us to prioritize long-term fulfillment over fleeting rewards, and learning to sit with discomfort teaches resilience, enabling us to navigate life's inevitable challenges with courage. Ultimately, chasing pleasure and avoiding pain is not a flaw, but a natural part of being human. The key lies in how we navigate this dynamic. By balancing our desires with our values and embracing the lessons that pain can teach us, we can create a life that is not only enjoyable, but also deeply meaningful. In the end, the richness of life is found not in avoiding pain or endlessly pursuing pleasure, but in harmonizing the two with wisdom and purpose. Number 6. Living in the past or future. Our minds often drift between the echoes of the past and the dreams of the future, both of which hold a powerful allure. The past, with its vivid memories, is a treasure trove of lessons and experiences. It shapes who we are, reminding us of challenges overcome, moments of joy, and the times that defined us. Reflecting on these moments can provide comfort, grounding us during turbulent times, and offering valuable lessons that guide us forward. Yet, dwelling too long in the past can be limiting. Regret over missed opportunities or guilt over mistakes may weigh us down, creating a sense of stagnation. Nostalgia for the good old days can blind us to the opportunities in front of us, leaving us stuck in a loop of yearning for what was instead of embracing what is. The future, on the other hand, offers an enticing canvas painted with possibilities. It inspires ambition and fuels dreams, keeping us motivated as we plan for brighter days. The anticipation of what lies ahead can fill us with hope and excitement, giving life a sense of purpose. However, focusing too intently on the future can also bring challenges. Constantly worrying about uncertainties and potential outcomes can breed anxiety, while an overemphasis on tomorrow might cause us to neglect the beauty and richness of today. In the interplay between past and future, the present emerges as a crucial balance point. Life unfolds in the now, offering opportunities for mindfulness, connection, and growth. The present moment is where we can savor the small joys, the kind word, the breath of fresh air, or the laughter of a loved one. It is where we can fully engage with our surroundings, create meaningful experiences, and plant the seeds for the future. Finding harmony between the past, present, and future is key to a fulfilling life. Reflection on the past offers wisdom, planning for the future provides direction, and living in the moment gives us the opportunity to truly experience life as it happens. By acknowledging the value of all three, we can move forward with gratitude for what has been, hope for what is to come, and an open heart for what is happening right now. In this delicate balance lies the secret to a life well lived. Number 7. Seeking external validation. Seeking external validation is a common human behavior that stems from our innate desire for connection, acceptance, and belonging. From a young age, we're conditioned to value approval from others, whether it's praise from parents, recognition from teachers, or applause from our peers. These early experiences of positive reinforcement, such as receiving compliments for good behavior or recognition for achievements, form the foundation for the belief that our worth is tied to how others perceive us. This connection between external approval and self-esteem continues into adulthood, often manifesting in social media likes, striving to impress others at work, or adjusting our behavior to fit in with a group. At its core, seeking validation is an instinctual part of being human. Our evolutionary history has wired us to value social acceptance because, in earlier times, belonging to a group was essential for survival. Acceptance meant access to resources, safety, and potential mates, while rejection often spelled danger. This deep-seated fear of rejection remains a driving force in the way we seek approval from others today. However, while external validation can provide temporary satisfaction, it can also be harmful when it becomes the primary source of confidence and self-worth. The pursuit of approval from others can lead to a loss of authenticity, as we may alter our behavior or suppress our true selves to gain acceptance. Additionally, relying too much on external feedback can leave us emotionally vulnerable. Our happiness becomes contingent on factors outside our control, and this dependence can lead to anxiety, insecurity, and burnout. The signs of being overly reliant on external validation can be subtle but revealing. You may feel empty or dissatisfied when you're not receiving praise or recognition, or experience anxiety when your efforts aren't acknowledged. There's often a tendency to compare yourself to others or change your opinions or decisions to fit in with the crowd. When external validation becomes a constant need, it can overshadow your sense of self-worth, making it difficult to feel confident without others' approval. The good news is that it is possible to shift from seeking constant validation to nurturing internal validation. The first step is to become aware of when you're relying on external feedback and understanding the reasons behind it. Self-reflection, mindfulness, or journaling can help you identify patterns and motivations for this behavior. In addition, practicing self-compassion is key, learning to celebrate your accomplishments, no matter how small, without needing external praise. By setting personal goals based on your own values and desires, you can measure your success on your terms rather than in comparison to others. Reducing exposure to social media, where validation is often amplified, can also help break the cycle of seeking approval from external sources. Surrounding yourself with supportive, authentic people who appreciate you for who you are, rather than for what you do, is another powerful way to foster self-confidence without relying on others' validation. Ultimately, the goal is to find a balance between external and internal validation. While seeking approval isn't inherently bad, it's important not to let it define your worth. Imagine your sense of self as a tree. External validation is the sunlight that helps it grow, but internal validation is the root system that keeps it firmly grounded. When you begin to rely more on your own internal sense of worth, your confidence becomes more resilient, not because others validate you, but because you believe in yourself. It's a powerful shift that allows you to reclaim your sense of autonomy and embrace your authentic self, free from the constant need for approval. Number 8, letting emotions rule. Emotions are an integral part of the human experience, shaping our decisions, relationships, and actions. They can be powerful forces influencing everything from our creativity to our deepest connections with others. But when we let emotions completely take control, they can lead to both brilliance and chaos. While emotions can be wonderful motivators, they can also cloud judgment and lead to regrettable decisions when we allow them to overpower logic and reason. Understanding how emotions impact decision-making begins with the brain. The limbic system, which processes emotions, includes the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for triggering emotional responses like fear and anger. The frontal cortex, on the other hand, is involved in logical thinking and decision-making. When emotions are strong, the amygdala can overpower the rational mind, leading to impulsive decisions driven by intense feelings rather than reason. This explains why we sometimes make choices that, in hindsight, may not have been the best ones. However, emotions aren't inherently negative. They can also provide deep insights, drive creativity, and foster meaningful connections. Emotional intelligence plays a key role in navigating these dynamics. People with high emotional intelligence are better equipped to recognize and manage both their emotions and the emotions of others. Instead of letting emotions control them, they use their emotional awareness to take constructive action. For example, when faced with frustration, someone with high emotional intelligence might channel that feeling into finding a solution rather than acting out impulsively. This ability to regulate emotions is essential for success in all aspects of life, whether in personal relationships or professional settings. Emotions can also be a powerful source of motivation. Passion, excitement, and love are emotional forces that drive individuals to pursue their dreams, conquer obstacles, and even change the world. Think of athletes pushing themselves beyond their limits or artists pouring their emotions into their work. These emotions fuel creativity, innovation, and perseverance. In fact, letting emotions like passion guide us can often lead to great achievements, such as Steve Jobs' emotional commitment to design and his relentless pursuit of excellence, which helped revolutionize technology. Furthermore, emotions can foster empathy and strengthen relationships. When we allow ourselves to feel another person's emotions, it deepens our connection with them. This emotional attunement creates stronger bonds, whether between friends, family members, or even within social movements. Shared emotional experiences can unite people to fight for justice or support each other in times of hardship, as seen throughout history in various movements for equality and human rights. However, the darker side of letting emotions rule emerges when they cloud our judgment. One of the biggest risks is impulsivity. Strong emotions can drive us to make snap decisions that we might regret later. For instance, when anger or frustration takes over, we might send an inflammatory email, make a rash financial decision, or end a relationship in the heat of the moment. Research shows that people who make decisions based solely on emotions tend to experience higher levels of stress and dissatisfaction afterward, because those choices often don't take into account the long-term consequences. Additionally, allowing emotions to dictate our actions can lead to conflict and miscommunication. In moments of heightened emotion, our ability to communicate effectively diminishes. Anger, jealousy, or fear can cause us to escalate situations rather than resolve them. In personal relationships, for example, emotional overload often leads to arguments where the underlying issue is lost in a sea of miscommunication and hurt feelings. The trick is to recognize when emotions are clouding judgment and take a moment to pause before reacting. Doing so can help prevent unnecessary conflict and preserve relationships. There's also the danger of emotional burnout. When we allow negative emotions like stress, anxiety, and anger to dominate, they accumulate and take a toll on our mental and physical well-being. Chronic emotional turmoil can lead to burnout, leaving us feeling drained, disconnected, and unable to cope with the demands of daily life. If we don't manage our emotions properly, we risk falling into a cycle of stress that ultimately harms our health and overall quality of life. So how can we avoid the pitfalls of letting emotions rule? The key lies in emotional regulation, the ability to manage and channel emotions in a healthy way. Mindfulness practices, like meditation and deep breathing, can help us become more aware of our emotions without letting them take over. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to observe our emotions as they arise, giving us the space to respond thoughtfully instead of impulsively. Another effective strategy is cognitive reappraisal, which involves changing the way we think about an emotional situation. Instead of viewing a challenge as unfair and anger-inducing, we might reframe it as an opportunity for growth or problem-solving. This shift in perspective can help us maintain emotional balance and avoid getting swept away by negative feelings. Perhaps the simplest and most powerful strategy is simply to pause before acting. When emotions run high, taking a moment to step back and breathe can make all the difference. In that brief pause, we give ourselves the chance to process our emotions and decide how to respond in a more measured, thoughtful way. This small but powerful habit can help us avoid hasty decisions and preserve our emotional well-being. Letting emotions rule can be both empowering and destructive. Emotions have the potential to drive us toward success, creativity, and deep connections, but they can also lead to impulsive decisions, conflict, and burnout if left unchecked. The key is not to suppress emotions, but to learn how to regulate them. By becoming more emotionally intelligent, practicing mindfulness, and taking time to pause and reflect, we can harness the power of our emotions without letting them control us. In doing so, we can lead more balanced, fulfilling lives, guided by both our feelings and our rational thought. Number 9. Procrastination. Procrastination is a common experience that many people face, and it often feels like an inevitable part of life. However, it's more than just laziness or poor time management. It's a complex psychological behavior rooted in various emotional and cognitive factors. At its core, procrastination is the act of delaying tasks that we know we should be doing, often until the last possible moment. This delay can lead to stress, guilt, and missed opportunities. Understanding the deeper reasons behind procrastination is crucial to breaking free from its grip. One of the main reasons we procrastinate is fear. Fear of failure, fear of making mistakes, or even fear of not meeting expectations can lead us to avoid starting or completing a task. The anxiety that comes with these fears makes it easier to push the task aside, even when we know it could have long-term consequences. Perfectionism plays a similar role. Those who hold themselves to very high standards may procrastinate because they are convinced that their work must be flawless. The pressure to make everything perfect can be paralyzing, leaving them stuck in a cycle of avoidance rather than taking action. Lack of motivation is another major factor. When we don't find a task interesting, exciting, or rewarding, it can be difficult to muster up the energy to begin. Without a clear incentive or reason to start, we often turn to easier or more pleasurable activities that provide immediate gratification. The desire for instant rewards, which are more readily available through distractions like social media, gaming, or TV, often trumps the long-term benefits of completing a task. The result is that we put things off, even when we know they need to be done. When faced with large or complex tasks, feelings of overwhelm and anxiety can also contribute to procrastination. The more daunting the task seems, the more difficult it becomes to start. This sense of being stuck often makes the task appear insurmountable, and rather than facing it head-on, we avoid it altogether, sometimes for days or weeks. This avoidance, however, only worsens the stress as deadlines approach, leading to feelings of frustration and a sense of being out of control. The effects of procrastination are far-reaching. While delaying tasks may offer short-term relief, it often leads to long-term consequences. One of the most noticeable effects is increased stress. As deadlines approach and work piles up, procrastinators often feel overwhelmed by the weight of everything they've put off. This stress can result in physical symptoms like headaches or trouble sleeping, and it can affect our mental health, leading to anxiety or depression. Another consequence is lowered self-esteem. Procrastinators often feel guilty about not getting things done, and this guilt can erode their confidence over time. The cycle of procrastination and guilt can make people feel like they're incapable of managing their responsibilities, even though they're often quite capable. Procrastination also leads to missed opportunities. Deadlines are often missed, quality suffers when tasks are rushed at the last minute, and sometimes important chances slip away altogether. In academic, personal, or professional contexts, this can have significant negative impacts, leading to regret or lost potential. Moreover, procrastination can prevent people from reaching their goals. The more tasks are delayed, the less likely we are to meet our objectives or make progress toward bigger dreams. Despite the negative effects, procrastination is something that can be overcome. Understanding why we procrastinate is the first step in breaking the habit. One of the most effective strategies is to break tasks into smaller, more manageable steps. Rather than feeling overwhelmed by a large task, focusing on just one part at a time can make it seem more achievable. Setting clear, specific, and realistic goals also helps. Instead of vague plans like, "I'll work on my project today," we can make a concrete commitment like, "I'll finish writing the introduction in the next 30 minutes." Time management techniques, such as the Pomodoro method, can also help combat procrastination. This method involves working for short, focused intervals, usually 25 minutes, followed by a short break. These brief periods of work make it easier to concentrate without feeling drained or overwhelmed. Eliminating distractions is another key step. Whether it's turning off phone notifications, finding a quiet space, or using apps that block distracting websites, reducing interruptions can help us stay on track. Being kind to ourselves is also crucial. Rather than falling into a spiral of guilt and self-blame, practicing self-compassion allows us to approach the situation with more understanding. Acknowledging that procrastination is a common struggle and forgiving ourselves for falling into the trap makes it easier to move forward. Additionally, connecting tasks to a larger purpose can provide motivation. When we remind ourselves of why the task is important, whether it's achieving a long-term goal, helping someone else, or improving our skills, it can give us the drive to push through the resistance. Accountability is another powerful tool. When we share our goals with someone else, whether it's a friend, colleague, or family member, it increases our commitment to following through. Knowing that someone is checking in on our progress can provide the extra motivation we need to get started. Lastly, rewarding ourselves after completing tasks can create positive reinforcement. After finishing a task or making progress, taking time for a small treat, break, or activity we enjoy can help build momentum and make the process feel more rewarding. The science behind procrastination adds another layer of complexity. Research shows that procrastination is not just a behavioral issue, but also a neurological one. Our brains are wired to seek immediate rewards, and when faced with tasks that feel unpleasant or stressful, our brain's reward system is activated by distractions that offer instant gratification. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, which governs decision-making and planning, becomes less active, making it harder to think logically about the long-term consequences of our actions. Ultimately, Overcoming procrastination requires patience, self-awareness, and persistence. It's not about striving for perfection, but about making consistent progress, even if it's just one small step at a time. Recognizing the emotional roots of procrastination and using strategies to address them can help us regain control over our time and energy. By changing our mindset, breaking tasks into manageable steps, and creating a system of rewards and accountability, we can gradually train ourselves to move past procrastination and unlock our true potential. Number 10. Comparing yourself to others. In today's fast-paced world, constantly comparing ourselves to others has become almost second nature. Whether it's on social media, at work, or in casual conversations, we often find ourselves thinking, "Am I doing enough?" Asterisk, or "Should I be more like them?" Asterisk. While comparison was once an essential tool for understanding our place in the world, in the modern context, it often leads to more harm than good. The act of comparing ourselves to others is rooted in two primary forms: upward and downward comparison. Upward comparison occurs when we measure ourselves against those we see as more successful, talented, or accomplished. While it can sometimes motivate us to improve, it often results in feelings of inadequacy and frustration. Downward comparison, on the other hand, involves measuring ourselves against those we perceive as less successful. While this might temporarily boost our self-esteem, it can also foster a sense of superiority and stop us from growing or striving for greater achievements. The psychological effects of this constant comparison can be damaging. One of the most immediate impacts is a hit to our self-esteem. When we constantly find ourselves falling short in comparison to others, it's easy to feel like we're not good enough or that we haven't achieved enough. This leads to anxiety and stress as we become consumed with trying to meet the expectations we've set for ourselves based on someone else's success. Additionally, this kind of thinking can give rise to imposter syndrome, where we feel as though we're faking our achievements, waiting for others to discover that we don't deserve the success we've attained. Another byproduct of comparison is jealousy and resentment. When we compare our lives to those of others, especially in negative ways, we can start to harbor ill feelings toward people who seem to have it all together. This envy doesn't just affect our mental health, it can also damage relationships, as we begin to view others through a lens of competition rather than collaboration. Social media has amplified this effect. In the age of Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, we are constantly exposed to curated versions of other people's lives. What we see are the highlights, the moments of triumph and joy, with little insight into the struggles, failures, or setbacks that are an inevitable part of everyone's journey. This distorted reality can make us feel as though everyone else is living a perfect life, leaving us to wonder why our own doesn't seem to measure up. It's easy to fall into the trap of FOMO, fear of missing out, thinking that everyone is achieving more, having more fun, or living more fully than we are. But here's the good news: you don't have to be trapped in the cycle of comparison. By shifting our focus away from others and back to ourselves, we can reclaim our sense of worth and purpose. It's important to remember that everyone's journey is unique, and just because someone else has achieved something doesn't mean we are any less capable or deserving. Instead of measuring our success by external standards, we should focus on our own growth, celebrate our progress, and set goals that align with our values. One powerful tool to break free from the comparison trap is practicing gratitude. By taking time to reflect on the things we are grateful for, whether it's good health, supportive friends and family, or the ability to pursue our passions, we shift our mindset from what we lack to what we already have. This simple act can help us feel more content with where we are in life, reducing the urge to compare ourselves to others. Another effective strategy is to limit our exposure to social media if it triggers negative feelings. We can unfollow accounts that make us feel inadequate, or even take a break from the platforms entirely. This allows us to reclaim our peace and reset our mental space, making room for more positive influences. Finally, practicing self-compassion is crucial. It's easy to be our own harshest critics, but by treating ourselves with kindness and understanding, we can ease the pressure we put on ourselves. Everyone makes mistakes, and everyone has a different timeline for success. Embracing our imperfections and giving ourselves credit for our efforts, regardless of the outcome, can help us break free from the constant comparison game. Rather than seeing others as competitors, we can choose to see them as collaborators. Instead of feeling envious of someone else's success, we can ask ourselves, what can I learn from them? Asterisk. This mindset shift not only benefits our own growth, but also fosters a sense of community and mutual support. When we celebrate each other's achievements and learn from each other's experiences, we can all rise together. In the end, comparison can hold us back, cloud our self-worth, and damage our relationships. But by embracing our unique journey, focusing on personal growth, and practicing gratitude and self-compassion, we can let go of the harmful habit of comparison. Remember that your path is your own, and the only person you need to compare yourself to is the person you were yesterday. You are enough as you are, and your story is worth celebrating. Remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about progress. By recognizing these habits and actively working to replace them with healthier alternatives, you can start building a stronger, more resilient mind. Mental strength is a muscle, and just like any other muscle, it grows with consistent effort. So make the commitment to yourself today. Leave behind what weakens you and embrace the habits that empower you. Your mental well-being is worth the effort. Are you ready to start your journey to a stronger mind?